Imagine it's high summer and you decide to take a walk in the forest. So you're walking along this beautiful ancient path. There's old oak trees around it, and it's been dry for the past weeks, and it's really nice to be under the shelter of the leaves of the trees. And you're walking down, you see rabbits in the field, and you hear birds singing, and you pass this lovely little cottage where people are watering their garden, and you say hi, and to be honest, you're quite jealous at their lovely house. But okay, you continue your walk, and while you're looking at a squirrel jumping from branch to branch, you smell something. What's that? That's fire. And you see that one of those trees is on fire, so you try to stamp it out, but hey, flip-flops, that hurts. So you run back to the house, you grab a bucket of water and you throw it over the flames. The fire is out. That's good. You saved the tree. So, feeling good about yourself, you continue your hike, and the old oak trees make place for younger pine trees, and the atmosphere cools down, and it feels really nice, and you smell the pines. And then at some point you reach the end of the forest. And there's a field. It's a golden glow over the field because it's been so dry in the past weeks. And you put on your sunglasses and you see some deer hurtling around some pool. It's the only place where there's some green grass left. And there's some bushes in the field, and then really far away there's just one last group of trees. And while you're pinching your eyes, you see a sort of white cloud above the trees, and it's growing darker and bigger and bigger and grayer, and you realize it's actually on fire. So what do? Do you go back to the house to get some water buckets? No, that's not going to work. Flip-flops, same story. So you call the fire department. They send in a fire truck. In 5 minutes you see a fire truck crossing the field. They hose down the flames. Fire is over. Trees are saved. But it's taken quite some time now. I mean, it's getting dark. You're hungry. You want to get home. So you return your path through the forest. You enter the pine trees. You see this lovely little old house again. The lights are on. The family's having dinner. And then the forest feels changed. Something's different. There's no animals nowhere. And there's not even birds singing. And you hear this strange sound, this roaring sound, as if it's raining. And something is coming from the sky, but it's not rain. It's actually glowing particles, amber. And you realize that the temperature is rising. And there's thousands of embers suddenly, and you realize the whole forest is on fire. It's a wildfire. What do? Do you go get some water buckets? No. Do you go call the fire department for fire trucks? How many fire trucks would you need to stop a wildfire? No, you call in the hotshots. And the hotshot crew is a specialized, highly trained, highly skilled fire squad that actually jumps in from the sky. And they don't carry extinguishers. No, they carry torches. Because what they do is they dig trenches. They create control lines to stop the fire from getting over to other parts of the forest. And what they do next is they burn down the forest that's between the fire and them, so that they take away all the fuel. They call in the air attack, the water bombers that can drop thousands of liters of water all around the forest to stop the fire from spreading. And if it's not going fast enough, they use explosives. They just blow up everything in the path to just stop the fire. It's the only thing that you can do when there's a wildfire. Now, you may be thinking, is this a mistake? This guy was supposed to talk about disinformation and troll factories. What on earth is he talking about? What, wildfires? But there's a striking parallel between wildfires and disinformation. So I want you to imagine that you're sitting at home on your couch, scrolling through Facebook. You see some funny cat videos, some annoying sponsored content, the food, awful food that your neighbor shared online, the pictures. And then you see a message that says, "New evidence confirms Finland does not exist." And there's an expert, there's a source, There's a picture of nothingness where Finland should be, and there's red doodles on there that clearly show that there's evidence. And you start to doubt. Maybe you've never known that Finland actually doesn't exist. And how can we help you at this point to understand? Because it might come as a surprise to you, but Finland does exist. It's absolutely true. It's an interaction between your brain and the content of this article. So we need a psychological solution. We need a psychological water bucket, because it's just a small fire. So what can we do? We give you a fact check. We show you that the source is actually really unreliable, that the picture is something completely different, that the red marks are children's drawings, and that the expert doesn't exist. And we've saved you. You now know the truth. But then you scroll further on Facebook and you find this friend of yours that's posted a link to a petition website, and he says, you have to sign this, we need to know the truth. And it's a petition website where already 5,000 people in the past hours, they all want to know the answer from the United Nations that they finally admit that Finland doesn't exist. And there's no new evidence, but it's so convincing because if you read all the comments, they clearly state that there are not enough answers to actually really know for sure that Finland exists. And while reading the comments, you start to doubt yourself. Maybe they have a point here. And maybe they're not clearly right, but we should examine it. And here is when it's not a psychological problem anymore. It's not just you, your brain, and the article. No, it's a sociological problem. We need to help you get rid of these peer pressure, this echo chamber where you're in, that you're actually getting to think that this is true. So we need a fire truck. We need, for instance, a campaign to help you and the others understand that this isn't true. But I mean, you've had enough of Facebook now, so you put away your phone and you turn on a TV and you see the news and there's hundreds of people. It's live TV, hundreds of people in front of the embassy of Finland, demonstrating, saying they want answers. And it's the last lie that they take from the elites, from the lying elites. And there's Finnish people harassed on the streets. And traditional media are suddenly covering the events because there's commotion. And actually people that claim that Finland doesn't exist get a stage because, well, it's sort of topical. And these websites that you usually look at, they suddenly start posting pictures of stories about Finland, etc. But they used to be only about yoga or food or whatever. And suddenly everything comes at you at the same moment. So your whole timeline is polarizing content. And then it hits you. Because you don't really have to think that it's true, but it's so frustrating, it's so annoying that nobody finally would admit that something might have been wrong, that it hits you. And you need to pick a side, either the extreme left or the extreme right. I mean, it doesn't matter, you need to pick a side. And the truth at that point is only what the majority online can push. And when the majority shifts to another topic, it doesn't matter if it was true or not. The commotion is gone, and everybody is left with frustration. Now that's the full scope of disinformation. It's psychology and sociology, but then on a mass scale. And for you to understand, this conspiracy about Finland is real. It is real, and I could have used another example. For instance, the guy shooting up a pizzeria in the States, or the thousands of people going out on the streets in Berlin because they thought an immigrant had raped a girl, which was all based on disinformation. So we need to end this wildfire. It's ravaging, it's polluting, it's a completely different scale. Water buckets and fire trucks aren't going to help. So the fact checks and the media literacy and the campaigns, it's all water buckets and fire trucks. We need a hotshot crew. We need backburns. We need to blow out the flames. We need to stop the fuel. We need to cut away the fuel. We need to take away the fuel. Is this clock really correct? Just this timer? Just a question? Yes. Yeah. No, because if it is, I'll wrap up. This frustration is actually the real enemy here to your problem. It's not about if something is true or not, because if we look at a fire, you have three elements. There's a heat source, there's a fuel, and there's oxygen. And as a troll, you're just the heat source. There may be many heat sources at the same time, but you're just the heat source. The fuel is your frustration. Because disinformation only has an effect if there are enough victims that believe in it and amplify it even better. So if you can stop the frustration, if you can take away the fuel, you don't have a problem anymore. You can do that for yourselves. But of course, to do that for the whole world is a different scale. We can't do that. I mean, that's not the solution here to the whole problem. But we can actually find solutions from this point. So that's why I actually run troll factories, so that we can do controlled burns to understand where the fuel is. And if we know where the fuel is, we can do prevention. So we need the hotshots. Thank you.